conversation about the conversation that you need to have with a homeowner before you do a home staging consultation?
Delicacy is the name of the game here, right? These are hard conversations. Not always, but often you're going to have a conversation with somebody about their personal home. They've got a lot of history potentially there. You're going to have a conversation about their lifestyle and the way that they live. And you want to handle this really as delicately as possible.
Yes, and we find that when we have our first conversation with our realtor, first phone call we have, they're calling us and they're saying they want a staging consultation. So we address concerns that the realtor has about the property ahead of time before we meet with the client. And so if there are obviously repairs, updates that need to be done, concerns that the realtor has in terms of things that need to be addressed before the house is put on the market, we have that conversation ahead of time. So we're sort of mentally prepared for what we're getting into. And then it helps to kind of front load your client, the homeowner, with as much information as possible about the staging process before you go into their home, so they're not totally blindsided by these people who are coming into their house and asking them to make big changes to things that they're really attached to.
Right. And like you said, Erin, I mean, we really go so far as to say to the realtors, hey, what are your biggest concerns? What are your biggest issues? What do you want us to tackle with the homeowner? Speaking of front loading, we're preparing ourselves not only for what we're walking into, but we want to really meet every need that the realtor has. So if that realtor is not happy about, some specific aspect of the home, like let's say she's not happy with the, the color of the kitchen, but she doesn't want to have that conversation with her client herself, that gives her an opportunity to say to us, hey, you guys, that kitchen color is horrible. Please talk to them about it. So like Erin said, we're prepared to meet all of the realtors' needs as well.
Yeah. And then you can start kind of mentally preparing your script in your head about the things that are going to need to be addressed with the homeowner. And we ask the realtor to send us photos ahead of time so we have as much information as possible before we go into the house. And then when we have our first conversation with the client, we ask them, we try to prepare them for what's to come in terms of bringing in staging materials or preparing for a staging consultation, by asking them to kind of make their initial edits. And what we mean by that is explain to them that, cabinets and drawers and closets the rule that we use is should be 50% empty, because you need to convey that there is ample space in this house for the new buyer who's moving in. And if they're stuffed full of pots and pans and, Tupperware, and there's, when the buyer comes and opens the cabinet door, if that's what they see, they're going to think this kitchen doesn't have enough storage. So we explain to the clients ahead of time, and this kind of helps us save time as well, so we can get down to the real important staging stuff. If we tell them ahead of time, 50%, clear out, go ahead and start packing your stuff. Empty your winter clothes out of the closet if you're not going to be wearing them in the next few months. Take 50% of your pots and pans and dishes and go ahead and start the purging process, start the packing process. Anything that they can do to start paring things down so that when you come in to do your staging consultation, there are fewer distractions.
The other thing that we tell homeowners, both in that first phone call and then again, we keep repeating this, we do it at the actual site visit itself as well. We remind them that what we're doing is not personal. That, their family photos are beautiful and their children are gorgeous, but future buyers do not want to see pictures of them in the space. They want to be able to envision themselves. So we're emphasizing to the homeowner that this is not personal. It is our job as home stagers to create a space that appeals to the broadest number of potential buyers. That's what they want from us, really, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to depersonalize your space. We're going to maybe make it feel, quite frankly, a little bit generic in its nature. So we're going to ask you to take out very personal or very specific artwork or religious artifacts or family photos, all of the things that are very, very special to you, but that are limiting in terms of the bigger picture of your potential buyer.
Right. Like, so somebody walks into a house that's for sale, and if they see, if they see a schedule on the refrigerator with the kids' violin lessons and horseback riding lessons on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and what they need at the grocery store, and like all of these like very personal items, they're going to feel super distracted, one. And the purpose of the walkthrough is for the potential buyer to see themselves, envision themselves in this house, and not think about, oh, they're out of milk and bread, and I wonder if they use the Harris Teeter or do they go to Food Line? Like, it's
right.
distracting, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing with your personal stuff. If they're looking at pictures of you on the wall, they might be thinking, oh, do I know her from, book club? Or you don't want the buyer to be distracted. So when we tell clients the reason behind this, the psychology behind staging, is about depersonalizing and making the home into a commodity. And we also tell them that a good reason to put your family photos away is because you may not want the photos of your kids on the internet forever in perpetuity, right? These photos are going to go on the MLS, and they're going to be in somewhere in the cloud land forever and ever. So that's another good way to kind of put a spin on it for your sellers, that take the personal stuff away. And again, we want to make this as appealing to the widest possible audience as we possibly can.
There's a reason that we have this conversation repeatedly with the homeowner. And it's because when somebody, the stager, comes into your home, even when you know that it is not personal, it can still feel really personal. Yeah. So we tell them this in the initial phone calls when we're first reaching out, making contact, and setting up the schedule. We repeat it as soon as we get there again. We want them to feel at ease with us as the stagers. They sometimes have a lot of anxiety or anticipation that maybe we are not going to like their decor, or we're not going to think that their house is good enough. And we want to take away all of those feelings of discomfort for them. And so we make it very, very clear that this is not about their personal style.
It's business.
It's business. It's business.
And another way that you can kind of address the clutter issue is to say to them, you've got to start packing anyhow. You've got to start, you're going to be moving here in a couple of weeks, a couple of months. You might as well start putting some of that stuff away. It's going to make the moving process much easier. Start purging, getting rid of the things that you're not taking with you. Sometimes we've even had to bring in professional organizers for folks. Right. Because things can get really, someone's been in a house for 30 years, things can really, really pile up. So we try to emphasize that, we're going to make your life easier. If you go ahead and pack up the stuff, the extra stuff in the kitchen that you're not using, or your extra 6 cookie sheets, just keep the 2 you're going to use in the next few weeks. Kitchens seem to be places that people accumulate a lot of
kitchens
stuff.
And closets and drawers, for sure.
Closets and drawers. And you have to be prepared that the buyers are going to dig through all that stuff. So it's important that the seller is aware of all that.
Yeah. And then you just want to be really mindful of how you're talking to people. So let me think of an example. Let's say that this particular homeowner has a beautiful nursery for a baby girl. There is probably nothing at all wrong with this beautiful nursery, but you as the home stager recognize that this is a community that's built on a golf course and specifically caters mostly to retirees, right? And so that the realtor is looking for a different demographic in terms of who's actually going to buy this house. So what we would say then to the homeowner is something as simple as, this nursery is gorgeous. Also, we think this is going to be a better fit as a home office for this specific neighborhood. So, you know, we're complimenting them on the really beautiful choices that they've made. We're also educating them about why we would stage this differently and how we would do it differently.
Yes. And also just another factor that you can kind of share with your potential sellers is if their closets are stuffed full and their house looks so full and so lived in, and suppose somebody comes and they have a cash offer and they want to close within 2 weeks, well, they might walk in the house and be like, whoa, there's no way these people can be out of here in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's too much work to be done.
Yeah.
So that's another kind of spin you can put on it. Like, go ahead, let's get the 50% rule in place. Let's go ahead and take out the extras, take out the things that you don't need, so that if you get a cash buyer and they want to close lickety split, you're not going to turn them off because the house is just way too full of your own personal items.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, you know, personal items, we mentioned a little bit earlier about religious artifacts and political items. People can feel really territorial and people are proud of their, you know, their heritage and their religious choices.
Yes.
That's all good and fine. But if somebody from another religion is wanting to buy this home, they may not feel, you know, very welcome. So you have to help your homeowner understand that you respect their religious choices, but that you, again, creating a blank canvas for all people to feel, you know, welcome in this space. That goes for religious artifacts, the personal photos. One thing we haven't talked about is holiday decorations, and you know, alcohol is actually another hot topic.
Yeah.
You know, lots of stagers like to set up a wine bar. You know, for a lot of people that creates a really welcoming space. For other people, that can be a bit of a trigger.
It can be a
So
trigger.
it's a controversial issue.
It is. It is, and we always advise our clients to put the alcohol away. Definitely put medications away. You know, you don't want to leave that kind of stuff out. You don't want to invite any sort of trouble when you have strangers walking through your house. Of course, not to mention any financial documents, any, you know, checkbooks, wallets, all of that jewelry needs to be put, you know, absolutely out of sight, and we recommend that they take it out of the house for a showing.
Erin, what are your thoughts on holiday decorating and whether people should have that up or down during staging?
My first thought that comes to mind is the photography. So in terms of the most practical answer to that, of course, you know, it's hard to tell somebody not to put a Christmas tree up at Christmas time.
Right.
And we always, of course, don't want to offend any certain, you know, any groups of people who may not celebrate those holidays. But also on a practical note, just at least for the staging photography, say you have your house all dolled up for, you know, Halloween or Christmas or whatever it is that you're into, and you have your photos done, and then maybe the house doesn't sell right away. Well, then you've got all these photos that are decorated for a holiday, and one that's telling the, you know, the potential buyers like, wow, that house didn't sell very fast. It was on the market last fall. What's wrong with it?
Right.
And also you'd have to pay for a photographer to come back in and update your photos. So if there are holiday decorations, we suggest that they remain minimal. There's no sense in going crazy, especially if you're getting ready to move.
Yeah. So the bottom line, conversations with homeowners and clients are really important, and they can be hard, but you can do it. Just be mindful that you're talking to people about things that are near and dear to them. Homes are very, very, very personal. You know, you approach the situation respectfully and, you know, try to put yourself in their shoes and understand or think about how it would feel if somebody came into your home and said, hey, I think you need to change this, right?
Yeah.
I think that is really part of what makes us good at what we do. We're always very mindful of how what we say affects people.
Yeah.
So say it in a way that is positive, and say it in a way that helps them move forward. Talking about the psychology, you were talking about the psychology of of staging and moving. What about the fact that that moving is a really emotionally loaded event for people, whether they are excited to be moving or devastated that they're moving.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's a huge life change. So people, your clients are going to come to you a little more emotionally loaded than they would normally because of that as well. So
yeah. Guys, we are a revisions mentor, and our purpose, our sole purpose, is to help people get their home staging business up and running, and to help you make successful businesses out of your passion and your hobby. And so if there are questions that you would like us to address, leave them in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button and let us know what you'd like to hear from us.
We love hearing from you. Thanks for watching.